It's the international version of the Jack Doyle Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. That's Jack Doyle. I'm Matt Taylor, and we're getting you set and ready to go for Week 10, already almost mid-November here. It's the Colts and Falcons later on this weekend in Berlin as part of the international series in the NFL. And, Jack, it's always fascinating to, life as a player, right? You play a game, you're in Pittsburgh last week, and now you got to readjust and worry about different things and get ready for a game across the globe internationally. Man, this is wild circumstances for guys like you in your former shoes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a chaotic week, right? And you're a little more busy, and you're trying your best as a player to stay in your normal routine, right? And obviously, you're traveling on Thursday. That's different.
Yeah.
It's a further trip. That's different. So there's a lot of things that's different, but the more as a player you can stay in your routine and trying to find ways to keep it as normal as possible, giving your best chance to be successful.
Absolutely. So we'll talk all about the logistics coming up. Again, the Colts playing in Berlin for the second time in 3 years, played there in 2023 against the Patriots a couple of years ago in 2023. That game was in Frankfurt. This go around, it's in Berlin at historic Olympic Stadium. There's going to be 70,000 fans there going crazy. We'll talk about the atmosphere and some of my memories from 2 years ago in Frankfurt. It was a wild scene, and I think this one is going to be even wilder with more people and a bigger stadium and a bigger stage. So really looking forward to everything that's coming up for the Colts in the next couple of days here. But we got to talk about Week 9 a little bit because it was sloppy. It was uncharacteristic football, as we know this Colts team to be through the first 8 weeks of the season. They were 7-1. And, Jack, going into the Steelers game, they had turned the football over just 4 times all year. They had more turnovers against the Steelers, 6 of them, than they did the previous 8 games. So, I mean, certainly it was one that, you classify as one that got away. It was a very winnable game. But quickly, when you go back and you watch the film from the Steelers game, and now that you've had a couple of days to kind of reflect on it, what were your big observations and takeaways from, again, a game where the Colts feel like they didn't play their best football?
Yeah, like you said, Matt, it was just a little sloppy, right? And, the stat right there, 6 turnovers in one game. You've had 4 all year. I mean, that shows right there. This is a bit of an outlier in the way the Colts have performed and what we've expected, from watching them. So, yeah, tough loss. You're going to have these in the NFL, though. There's going to be games where, the ball's not bouncing your way, and it's always going to be about how you respond. And as a player, it's kind of good to go into a week where it's going to be, a little chaotic and you don't have time to really reflect on the loss, right? Obviously, you got to, fix the things you need to fix, but let's just get back into football. That's what you want as a player when you don't play well, is the faster you can get back to a game, and this week will go fast for the guys and get back out there.
Well, the Colts in that game, they got off to such a fast start. They did what they typically do. They got the 3 and out on defense, and then they went down. I think it was a 13-play, 79-yard drive, got into the end zone, and you're thinking to yourself, watching the game or listening to the game, like, here they go again.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter where the game is, doesn't matter the opponent, doesn't matter the hex that is, the Colts in Pittsburgh. They're going to do it today. And after that, obviously, things fell apart. Jack, as a former player, have you been part of games like that? I mean, can you go back into the recesses of your brain and your career? Were there games where it just felt like today's not our day, and we're not able to, for whatever reason, find our offensive rhythm today when we've got the ball?
Yeah, there's just times where the ball just doesn't bounce your way. I really think, when a muff punt happens early, it kind of gets you being like, that's a little weird. That doesn't happen a lot, especially with a reliable guy in Josh. And then the defense got a big stop, so you're like, okay, here we are, we're back. And
right.
And just the turnovers. You have 6 turnovers, like, you're not gonna win any football games, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. And it was, like I said, it was an outlier. This isn't what the Colts offense has been. This isn't what the team has been. But yeah, there's definitely, that's sports, right? That's football.
Yeah.
There's going to be games where things just don't go your way. And again, it's going to be how you respond. How are we going to bounce back this week?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones had, I hate the word credit, right? He was credited 5 turnovers, right? It's not all on Daniel Jones, okay? We understand that. But for the sake of argument, 5 turnovers by Daniel Jones, that's the most turnovers he's ever had in a game in his career. So when you went back and you watched the game, either in real time or, on the tablet, if you will, did anything look off about Daniel Jones in Pittsburgh?
No, I don't think so at all, honestly, Matt. I mean, obviously the turnovers, but they all had like an explanation, right? If you look at it, it wasn't just, Daniel throwing blindly somewhere and it was a pick or something like that.
Right.
There was a reason behind all of them. The one early, there was a tip ball one. There was one where, Jonathan Taylor was trying to chip on an end and didn't get out into the flat to kind of pull his man with him, and where Daniel was expecting that guy to go, and the guy's right in front of Downs and gets a pick there. And so it was little things like that. And then obviously even the strip sacks, I don't think Daniel had bad ball security. He was going to throw on one, and
right.
the other one he had two hands on the ball, and TJ Watt's coming to swipe at it. That's just a tough break. So yeah, I got to shore up the protection and things like that. But no, I wouldn't. You can't, like you said, Matt. You can't throw the 5 turnovers all on Daniel, right? And that's part of playing the quarterback position, and you get credit when you do things right, and then sometimes when things aren't your fault, you get blamed, and Daniel knows that. But it's going to be all about bouncing back this week.
Yeah, it just seemed like TJ Watt's play sort of started it all.
Yeah,
that was the biggest turning point in the game. I don't want to say it was an avalanche after that, but you can go back to that one play where things sort of tilted into the favor of the Steelers. You played TJ Watt. You did very well against him. I mean, did you have any flashbacks when he made that play?
He's just so good at getting on an edge, right? And that's what an edge rusher wants to do, right? Yeah. They want to get on an edge. And, when he gets on that edge, he's hard to stop. And so, yeah, he gets on the edge. He gets the strip. And, it reminded me of times he's done that against us and when I was playing. And again, you play in a tough environment like that. And, those fans in Pittsburgh and the defense, they feed off of that, right?
Yeah.
They feed off those turnovers, those big plays. And, yeah, we just couldn't really, get our momentum back kind of after that play.
Well, Daniel Jones in the pocket, like we said, he was pressured a season-high 18 times against the Steelers. And even when he wasn't pressured and had time, good defensive lines do what they do when they're not getting home. What are they doing?
Yeah,
getting their hands up, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like unofficially I counted 5 tip balls at the line of scrimmage by the front 7, either defensive linemen or linebackers that were, blitzing in and coming after Daniel Jones there in the pocket. I mean, the leakage up front by the offensive line, do you chalk it up to just one game or 2 premier edge players in Highsmith and Watt? I mean, is this a concern for you at all going forward now that the Colts have shown on tape they can be pressured that amount in a game?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a concern, right? Because it's one game. It's one game, but it's a copycat league.
Yeah.
So, you're going in the Falcons, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to see what the Steelers did that was successful, and they're going to do the exact same thing. So you have to show that you've made the corrections and that you're ready for it going into this next game. But, you can't say it's a concern yet. This is one game. But you got to be ready. You got to fix it. You got to fix it fast because, you're speaking of avalanches. That's what it is in the NFL. Once they think they figured out a way to kind of stop you and get you off your rhythm, they're going to do the same thing. So yeah, it'll be a tough challenge for the Colts this week in bouncing back.
I'm sort of talking rhetorically here, right? But, I mean, just big picture, you turn the ball over 6 times. You give up only 225 yards of offense to the Steelers. 24 of their points out of 27 total came off of giveaways. You got a kicker in Michael Badgley who's filling in for Spencer Schrader. He's not known for 50-yard field goals. He's never made more than 1 field goal over 50 yards in a game. He makes 2 in this game. And you only lose the game by 7. That to me is really indicative of it kind of being a fluke aberration outlier, if you will, because all of those things happened and the Colts still lose by 1 score.
Yeah, it shows how
on the road.
Yeah, how good we are. Honestly, we still had a chance there at the end, right? And it's amazing that you can turn the ball over 6 times and still be in a football game, right? I mean, that's impressive in its own right. It was great to see Badge, knock those ones through. And Pittsburgh's a tough place to kick in too. This wasn't a 50-yarder in an indoor, right? So that was impressive for Badge and will help with his confidence. So that'll be good for the Colts going forward. But again, Matt, like you said, 6 turnovers and you lose by 7. It's like, okay, guys, let's look at this film. Let's get the corrections. But this isn't us, right? And we're a good football team. The fact that we were able to keep it within 7 with playing that poorly shows that, we got a good team going forward.
I wasn't in the locker room after the game, but by all the reports, I mean, guys were still pretty steady. There was no panic. It's not like guys were throwing chairs and, making dents in the wall by punching into frustration. Like, they know it's like, we just didn't play well today.
Yeah.
We're a better football team than them. All due respect to the Steelers, right? They won that day.
Right.
Got to give them their props.
Right.
But that, to me, was the frustrating part calling that game. Is just, when you get to turnover 4, 5, and 6, you're thinking to yourself, the Colts are so much better than this team.
Yeah,
and it's not going to show in the on the game score on the scoreboard.
No, yeah, and that's the tough part as a player. But that in the back of your head, like you said, in the locker room, you're like, man, we let that one get away.
Yeah.
Not to say you'd rather lose that way versus like we gave our best shot and then lost a tough one.
Is there such a thing as a good loss?
Yeah.
Do you believe into that?
Yeah. Well, I think it messes with your confidence and things like that. Knowing that, I don't think this game's going to hurt our confidence. Like, a tough loss and you felt like you gave your best shot and you lose by 3, right? This is like, man, we really played poorly and still kind of had a chance
and
there.
Should have still won.
Yes, had a chance there at the end, right? Like, so it's so you come back and be like, man, if we fix the things we messed up today, we get back to practicing the right way. And again, we've talked about it a lot on this show, and the veteran leadership. I think that's what you're kind of speaking of in the locker room and the way the guys are handling it. They know, like, hey, we're going to get back to work and we're going to put our best foot forward, starting with Wednesday practice.
All right, so all of a sudden now after the loss, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but the reality is now after the loss in Pittsburgh, the Colts are 7-2, but there's 2 other teams in the AFC that have reached that level here. The Patriots, they've won 6 in a row?
Yeah.
I think they're on fire right now, so they're 7-2. The Broncos keep finding ways to win. The Broncos have to, in my opinion, be one of the most unimpressive 7-2 teams in the history of the AFC. But here they are. But put on your your former player hat, if you will, all right? Pretend you're back in that locker room. When you see those standings, does that light a fire under you? It's like, oh, all of a sudden our lead is gone. Right now we're tied atop the conference. The Colts are still 6-1 in the AFC, so they hold the tiebreaker over those other teams if the playoffs started today, for what it's worth. But you got some teams kind of nipping at your heels here a little bit, Jack Doyle. Do you pay attention to that?
Not at this point, honestly. As a player, I never really looked at it. I always kept an eye on what the division was doing. I'll be honest about that and see what those teams are doing. But the whole AFC, there's just so much football left to be played. But you got to know that you got to take it 1 week at a time. And when you get to looking at standings this early, I think that can kind of mess with you in a way as a player. You're focused on what you're doing on Wednesday practice, what you're doing on Thursday practice, what you're doing. You're focused on truly on one day at a time. And not thinking too far into the future yet.
Yeah, no doubt about that. A couple positives from the game, even though the Colts lost, they did some things really well. We talked about, Badgley coming up clutch in those long field goals. The Colts still had 300 yards passing from Daniel Jones. Had threw the ball into the end zone to Josh Downs. But the Colts also had 2 100-yard receivers. First time all year they had a 100-yard receiver, and they have 2 of them. Yeah. And it's Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. Both guys have 115 yards. For Pittman, he goes over 5,000 career receiving yards in the losing effort. But I want to talk about Pittman because you played with him.
Yeah.
And he's having such a, I don't want to say bounce-back season because I think last year he'll never make this excuse, but I'll make it for him just because he wasn't at all the same player that we've known him to be. But he was playing with a fractured back for most of the season. Just wasn't the same guy. And right now, he's already got 6 touchdowns, and he's just tearing it up. Why is Michael Pittman Jr., and I've talked to Rick Venturi about this, why does he dominate in the middle of the field? Like between the numbers, he's almost like a hybrid wide receiver, tight end, and he's so physical, yards after the catch, a tough guy to bring down. But why does he feast specifically so well in the middle of the field in this offense?
Well, the first word that comes to mind is he's tough, right? I mean, he's not scared, right? He doesn't care to go over the middle of the field. He doesn't care to get hit by a linebacker. He doesn't care to take that shot, man. He's just fearless over the middle. And the next thing, he has great instincts. I think when you can take advantage of the holes and getting open in the middle of the field, you have to have great instincts and be seen it the same way the quarterback is. And Daniel and Pitt seem to be on the same page and finding the holes. And we even had Pitt on the show, and he talked about how sometimes he kind of breaks off his route because he knows here's an open spot, and Daniel's on the same page, and boom, we're hitting them right there. And just trusting your instincts, right? And the more you play, the more you can, the more you see, the better you're going to become. And Pitt's played a lot of football and played it at a high level for a while now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just impressive to see and happy. I'm happy to see Pitt having success, and I know he kind of had to tough it out last year, and playing with, like you said, a freaking fractured back.
Yeah.
Like, you kidding me?
Most guys would have shut it down.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And so it's great to see him, getting rewarded. And another thing, you get open in the middle field because he's coming down and blocking a lot too. So that's opening up him in the play action world. So yeah, Pitt's the man, and he's just a great football player.
We've talked about his mindset and his persona and his character before in the past. I mean, he's an interesting cat, and I say that as a compliment because he's a number one wide receiver in terms of desire and passion, and I don't want to say diva, but he wants the ball.
Yeah.
He wants the ball, but he's also okay with scoring 30 points, winning by 20, getting his 5 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown, and calling it a day and being there for his teammates to get theirs in the receiving game and also block his tail off in the run game. He's almost like a unicorn in that regard.
Yeah,
he's like the perfect teammate, but also I want the ball when the game's on the line mentality.
Yeah, he's a competitor, right? That's how I describe Pitt. He's a competitor. He wants his team to win, but he has ultimate belief in himself. Like, I can do it. Like, throw it to me. Like, I'm going to catch it, and I'm going to make the play to help my team. But if you don't throw it to me, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to block for my teammate. No, I'm going to go block my butt off and, put my body on the line for Jonathan Taylor to break off a run or to clear it out for downs to make a play underneath. So he's just like, he's a coach's dream, man. He really is. Like, you can put him anywhere. He's gonna find a way to be successful, and he's gonna do what's best for the team. Play in, play out, and that's why I loved him as a teammate. Love him as a person, but he's just, like I said, he's a teammate. He's a dream player you want as a teammate and for a coach as well.
And he has the mindset, I think, of a lot of guys on this offense because it is so spread out.
Right.
There are so many guys involved. Tyler Warren's here now. I think he has the belief that, like, when the ball comes to me, I better make the play because I may not have many chances today because of how good we are and how many ways we can beat a defense.
Yeah, and when your number one receiver has the mentality that Pitt has, like, no one else in that locker room better being like, oh, I'm not getting the ball enough, or oh, I was open here. Like, no, Pitt's not doing it. So everyone else fall in line.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not going to complain.
That is leadership. And that's
well
why Pitt leads with the way he plays, and he doesn't say a lot. He's a funny guy, but he doesn't say a lot as a leader. But the way he plays, like, you better fall in line and play like Pitt, or he's going to give you that. He'll just kind of look at you sideways, or I don't know if he'll say anything, but he'll
say something.
He'll look at you sideways and let you know, like, hey, that's not how we do it here.
No doubt about it. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's turn the page. Let's get ready for this weekend. Obviously, abnormal travel, a lot of logistics, so many things behind the scenes that go into playing a game. I don't even know, 7 or 8 time zones away. I know there's 6 hours ahead. I am not looking forward to that in terms of the body clock. That's going to be personally the hardest adjustment for me, is just being awake when I'm supposed to be awake and sleeping when I'm supposed to be sleeping. We did that a couple years ago in Frankfurt. We did it, gosh, what was it, 9 years ago in London. I got a little funny anecdote about that when we talk about that. But all right, so we did it 2 years ago in Germany, Jack. You did it in London. Tell me what is going through your mind as a player now, getting ready for an 8-hour flight to Germany, all the extra things that you have to pack and be ready for to play a game overseas.
There's a lot, and I'll give Casey credit. She was the one packing my bag and making sure I had everything squared away. So I was really just trying to focus on football, but it's a hard trip. It is, Matt, as you know, you've done it, but it's also helpful that the Colts did it 2 years ago, right? And they kind of have the schedule down and went over there and won a football game. So, hey, let's replicate what we did and find a way. I mean, that's got to be the theme of the week. Find a way to get a win, right? The Falcons are doing the same thing. It's tough on them too. So let's, keep the distractions down as much as possible and just find a way to get a win.
What do you remember about the London trip? And I know that's an open-ended question. I mean, you guys – I love Chuck Pagano, but didn't you guys land in London and just go immediately to the practice field?
Yeah, practice, red eye practice, Matt. Practice, red eye practice. That was a running joke for us as players.
Were you guys thinking like, WTF, what are we doing right now? Did you know that was coming?
Oh, we knew it was coming. So we were supposed to sleep on the plane. We practiced here Thursday afternoon, normal Thursday. It was a normal Thursday, and then you're out of practice, and it's like, all right, get on the bus. We're going to the airport. We're flying out. And then you sleep. You try and sleep on the plane. You get to London, and it was bus. We went straight out to the practice field, and we practiced. It wasn't
like
a
walkthrough. Fourth
walkthrough.
Practice that week.
It was a Friday practice. It was red zone day. Like we did I'll never forget Jack Doyle walking out to practice, and the look on his face is probably the most distinct memory I have from that trip. And him looking like he needed a nap so bad. And he was just done. He was done. We all were done. And then we played like crap. I don't remember a lot from that trip because you almost are in like blackout mode.
It was kind of a forgettable trip.
Yeah,
because of the outcome.
We played crappy, and we you're sleep deprived and trying to figure out when you're supposed to sleep. They have the teams trying to tell you when to sleep and when not to sleep.
Well, that's easier said than done.
It is. It's like, I'm tired. I think I should probably sleep. You're like, no, you got to stay awake. Yeah, stay awake. So it's hard. But, again, like we said, Matt, it's just going out there and you find a way to win. That's the only goal.
Same thing. Like, I didn't sleep at all. I don't sleep well on planes.
No.
So I am bound and determined to find a way coming up on this trip to get over the hump, to knock me out, find some way to get some sleep when I'm supposed to be sleeping, because that was the biggest challenge. I remember in 2016 we land and your body's so drained, but it's in the middle of the day in London.
Yeah.
So it's time to be up.
Yeah.
But your body's like, no, it's time to go to sleep because you didn't sleep at all on the plane. So I did exactly what you're not supposed to do.
Oh, you slept.
Landed in London, tried to get a couple hours sleep just to kind of catch up and be functional. And even that, like whatever it was, 2 hours of sleep just screwed me up.
Oh.
And so when it's time to be sleeping in London, I was wide awake in the middle of the night London time. And I remember distinctly trying to watch TV in London, in the hotel room, and there's like nothing on.
No.
And the only like American thing on is NHRA drag racing in the middle of the night in London. I'm watching this terrible drag racing content like on ESPN or something. And I just remember like, what am I doing? How did I get here? But I also in the recesses of my brain thinking like, if I'm having trouble, there's got to be a couple players that are having trouble too, doing the same thing. And I'm not playing. You guys are
going through. Wasn't the Ryder Cup going on too when we were there?
It was early October.
I feel like the Ryder Cup was going on.
Yeah,
which made it was fun. We were in London in the Ryder Cups. Yeah, that was kind of cool. But well, Matt, hopefully you don't make that mistake again coming up here.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah, easier said than done. But yeah, it is a tough trip for the players, and there's no there's no right way to do it, probably, right? It's just a tough trip. And you got the bye week, to look on,
And you're only there 3 days.
Yeah, you're there to go play football, right? Yeah. Like, let's find a way to get yourself rested the best you can to put your best foot forward and try and win a football game.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you're there. Let everything else, I know there'll be some guys that have to go out and do some marketing and things like that, which is great for the game, right? It's great for the NFL. But you're there to win a football game, so let's find a way to win the game. What
do you remember about Wembley Stadium? You guys played there in London in 2016. What do you remember about just the atmosphere? Because it's not really – you played the Jaguars. There were plenty of Jaguars, quote-unquote, fans. There were people there, I'm sure, rooting for the Colts too. But there were also people there just happy to be there to watch football, and they're cheering – after every play. It could be a sack or a gain of 4, and they're going nuts.
I remember the grass. The grass was beautiful. The playing surface was great in Wembley Stadium. I remember that. But I remember about the fans. Like, everyone's just wearing, like, random jerseys.
It was like an NFL collage.
Yeah, it is. It looks like an NFL shop, commercial.
A pro shop.
It really does. It's like people are just wearing all – and, this again, Matt, this was 9 years ago, and I think, NFL going over to Europe and was just kind of getting going, and fans didn't really know when to cheer. I did kind of notice that, like, they were loud sometimes when they weren't supposed to be loud, or things like that, which I think has probably improved in 9 years, right? With how much the NFL has been going over there, but But yeah, it's definitely a weird atmosphere, but a cool atmosphere at the same time. And it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, these people are super excited to see you and watch an NFL football game. So let's try and put our best foot forward and put on a show.
In Frankfurt, it's a smaller stadium than Wembley. It's a smaller stadium than Olympic Stadium coming up on Sunday. I think Olympic Stadium, 70,000 plus.
That's a lot.
Frankfurt was somewhere, I believe, in the 40s. But, I mean, they were packed in there. They were all in their seats at least an hour and a half before the game. And, they're playing music, and it's mostly American music. They're playing, I forget now. I mean, they're playing, Taylor Swift, and they're playing Aerosmith and Bon Jovi, and they know every word.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like it's just a big party.
Yeah,
it's like a karaoke party, and it's just different because here in America, people either get to the game right at kickoff or they tailgate. They're kind of slow to filter in. Even in Pittsburgh last week, the national anthem's playing, and there's still mostly empty seats in the upper deck. Now they got filled in eventually, but they're like, it is an event. They are there they paid their money. They got their ticket. They're going to be ass in seat 2 hours before the game, and they're ready to go and get their money's worth.
That's their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Man. They've been looking forward to this all year. Like, the NFL fans over there, like, here we go. Like, we get a chance to watch a football game. And I'm hoping there's I would think in Germany that we have a lot of Colts fans with Bjorn Werner.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's been a great, ambassador for the Colts and
Bernard Ryman's ties.
Yeah. And Bernard Ryman. Yeah. So hopefully we get a little, it is a home game. So hopefully, we get a little home field advantage there.
Did you see, because, I mean, over there, it's hard for us to understand because we're not really subjected to it. But over there, Bjorn Werner is he's the Pat McAfee of Germany. He's like
awesome?
Carrying the flag for, digital football media and the NFL and the Colts. Did you see that out of Bjorn when he was a player? Because I didn't. He was kind of an introvert a little bit.
Yeah, but he was funny. He really is. He's a funny guy. He was more quiet, but he's very funny. And I remember seeing him when we played over there in London. He was over there, and I know he's doing great stuff over there. And I'm so happy for him. He's such a great dude. Him and his wife Denise, they're great people. But he is a really funny guy. So I honestly could see it, in my interactions with Bjorn.
Did he talk much German in the locker room?
Yeah, with Andrew. Him and Andrew would talk German in the locker room and be like, we'd be like, what's going on?
Was machst du gern in deiner Freizeit?
Yeah. All I know is Beyond Vanna. Yeah. That's all in German I got for you.
I took 4 years in high school.
Oh, there you go.
I can still apply a little bit.
You could have hopped in. You could have hopped in.
Well, I can have a basic conversation.
Yeah. Hello, how are you?
Like a kindergarten level conversation,
You should have done an interview with Bjorn in German. That would have been sweet.
I just remember the word for calculator in German was Taschenrechner. That was always fun to say.
That's a fun word to say, right?
I used to in German. Our teacher was great, and every quarter, every 9 months, we had to do a project, and you could do whatever you want. You could write an essay in German, or you could write a story, or you can make a video. It was up to you.
Yeah.
And every quarter, I did impressions of either Don Fisher or Joe McConnell or Marv Alberts or locally Bob Lovell. They would interview other people in German.
Oh,
and I still have the tapes.
Oh, I got to see that. That's incredible. That's incredible. I know
they're all audio tapes.
Yeah, I know you're great at impressions, so I have to see that.
Yeah, I can maybe dig those up a little bit.
That'd be great.
Yeah. But we're looking forward to kind of putting that German to good use. One final thing on the trip to Berlin, the globalization of football. Jack, how have you seen? You just talked about it. How fans have a higher IQ, a better understanding of football now than you did or than they did when you first went over there in 2016 to play the Jaguars. I mean, I see it every week getting ready for games. Looking at depth charts of other teams. You've got a lot of Polynesian players. You've got a lot of players with Nigerian roots. You've got European players, as is the case with the Colts, and Maximilian Mang, who's on the Colts practice squad. They've had Marcel Debo in the past on the practice squad. Bernard Ryman and his Austrian roots. How, I guess, for lack of a better term, how good is that for the game that it is becoming less and less border filled? That guys are finding ways to be exposed to football and to now kind of filter it up and play it at the highest level because every team has a couple of guys that have interesting stories and fascinating backgrounds and how they got to the NFL with their journeys.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, when you win the Super Bowl, what do you say? We're world champs.
Yeah.
So let's make it really world champs. Let's get the best players we can find everywhere.
And I think this NFL, this international series has a lot to do with it.
It has a lot to do with it. And the more you can, teach the game, and it's such a great game, and there's so much you can learn, even if you don't play in the NFL, right? Think of the lessons you learned in as a youth playing football, right? It's just a great sport to teach you life lessons that are going to help you throughout your whole life. So the more, we're probably a little biased. We love football, right? So the more people playing football is good for the world, right? It's good for humanity. So, the more you can spread the game, I think it's great, and getting the best players we can to play this game at a high level. It's good. It's great for the fans.
I say it all the time. Nothing taught me more about life lessons, dealing with adversity, how to be a teammate, how to be a good person, how to work, how to be disciplined, more than playing football.
No,
I don't want to get on a soapbox here. Right?
I'm right there. So Matt, we played. Here we go. 3rd grade CYO City Championship this past week.
We win?
We lost a heartbreaker, Matt.
Who'd you play?
IHM. They scored. We scored with 38 seconds left. They go to take the lead. They go down. Score with 4 seconds left.
Brutal.
But it was, Matt. It's exactly what we're talking about, and
yes,
why I think it taught these kids, like, you're going to grow through adversity. They don't know it right now, but that's going to make them stronger. It's going to make them better men. Like, yeah, we all wanted to win. I'm a competitor, even though it's 3rd grade football. It's like I wanted to win, right? Yeah. But guys, it's okay. You did your best. You lost. Let's fix. You try to fix things that you're going to fix, right? But you're going to get better from this. Life's not always going to go your way, right?
And you're closer.
And it's just such a great sport, man. And like you said, Matt, it teaches you so much that it's it's the ultimate team sport. It takes everybody, right? You can't just blame one person or anything like that. So it's just the best.
Yeah, I don't want to get political. I don't want to I don't get on my soapbox. But moms, let your kids play.
Let them play.
All right?
Let them play.
If you're on the fence, just do it. You got 2 guys here that turned out pretty okay. That played football.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty okay. We got our own podcast for crying out loud.
Come on. What are you talking about?
You know how hard it is to get a podcast these days?
Super difficult.
All right, to close out here, we're not going to have a show next week, all right? So the Colts are going to be on the bye following the game in Germany. So there will be no show during the idle week coming up for the Colts. But I do want to ask you about the bye. So it's going to be mid-November, Jack. Typically on the bye week, how are you feeling mid-November, this point in the season? How's your body, and how much in need are you of just some time off here?
Yeah, need it. Need it. You need it bad. And especially after a long trip that these guys are about to, we're about to go on out to Berlin. These guys need a break. So it's important to take that time and catch up with some family, right? But also get your rest, right? Don't do too much. I feel like, Matt, we were kind of talking about this before the show, but you kind of put everything off to the bye. Oh, I'll take care of that on the bye week.
Right.
I'll take care of that on that bye week. But try not to do that, right?
Yeah.
Try and take care of yourself, right? Because we got an important stretch coming up after it.
How do you? I mean, are you getting out of bed and you're like, oh,
yeah?
How do you feel?
Are
you just sore and
you are sore? But the important thing is, Matt, you kind of almost have to keep a similar routine to what you're doing in the week, as far as like sleep schedule, especially, and getting up and doing something. You got to get up and you got to raise your heart rate a little bit to kind of work that soreness out. And so you're not trying to get back in it when you come back from the bye week, right? And trying to get back into shape. You don't want to lose too much. So it's important for guys to kind of stay in somewhat of a routine. Yeah, you got to rest, but you got to move too. You can't it's not just sitting on the couch all week, right? You got to keep your body moving, and so you're ready to go when we come back.
Yeah, but what did you want to do during the bye? I mean, did you want to
sit on the couch? I like to watch football.
Yeah,
I did. I remember that. Just like be a fan, watch football, and try and shut your brain off a little bit. But I was always watching, like, the Texans are playing.
The Texans are going, or let's catch up on Netflix a little bit.
Let's watch that. Yeah, watch a show.
Yeah.
But again, you try to go to bed on time, but then you end up like, you start a new show, and then you're
all of a sudden it's 11:30,
then
it's midnight.
Oh crap, I gotta go to bed.
Yeah,
I gotta go to bed. But it's good to get a mental rest too, and kind of you try and shut your brain off a little bit from football. As I'm saying, I was watching football, but as a player and watching it a certain way. But you got to stay in it at the same time. You can't just completely disappear, right? Because you still got to come back and get right back to work.
What did you think of the guys that like try to cram in a trip or a vacation during the bye?
Never.
Yeah?
No, I never could do that. I mean, to each their own, right? Some guys could do it and they needed it and fueled them coming back, but I could never. Like, no. Like I just went on 8 trips the past 8 weeks. I went to, or whatever. Half of them are home games, but whatever. I was like, I got plenty of trips. I'm going to Kansas City, or whatever. I'm going to Berlin. Like I'm good on trips.
Right.
Like I want to sit on my couch.
I do not want to get on an airplane.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Absolutely.
No,
I felt the same way.
You got to take the time off, man. You got to take it off, and again, but you have to stay in somewhat of a routine. I remember I used to always come up here and I'd run some pass routes, do things like that, get workouts in.
So you'd actually come to the facility?
I would till probably Wednesday. You'll probably get the whole week off, especially coming off that trip.
Yeah.
So Wednesday, Thursday, I think that they probably shut down the facility on Thursday-ish maybe. But yeah, it's okay. You got to get some work in, right? You can't just sit for a week. Like, you imagine, you're sore, you sit for a week, and then you try and come back to practice that next Monday.
Yeah.
You will be miserable.
Oh yeah.
It will be
especially if you do nothing.
It will be a miserable experience. And the guys, you see the guys that did that, right? you can catch them pretty quick on that Monday practice, but yeah, you got to get some work in too.
Could you afford any deviation from nutrition?
Oh,
could you get some cheat meals in there?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
What were your go-tos?
Wings all day.
Wings.
Yeah. Oh, crush some wings. I crushed some wings this week and it was awesome.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where at?
Awesome. Where were we at? Now you're gonna quiz me. King Jug, is that what is brewery up in Fishers?
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. Not been there.
It was good. Good
Solid?
wings. Good wings.
Yeah.
Good wings. I had probably 12.
That's an order.
Yeah, it was. It was after our loss.
That's more.
It was after our loss.
Oh, so you were eating your feelings.
Maybe I was eating my feelings. Maybe I was eating my third grade
CYO
my
loss.
third grade football.
Just
loss.
pile it away with wings.
Oh, just jacking his wings. Yeah.
I like it. So, bigger picture. Last thing before we talk about the Colts and the bye, how well positioned is this team? Right. There's going to be 7 games left coming up after the bye. Throw out what's going on recently here, but I mean, just with the trip coming up to Kansas City, and then you've got 4 division games left. Everything for this team goal-wise is still there coming up after a week off.
Yeah, like, let's go. Like, it gets you fired up. Like, if I'm a player and I'm as a fan, it gets me fired up. Like, guys, these opportunities don't come every year. We know that, right? So, like, let's stay in the details. Let's stay focused. Let's keep practicing with a purpose. And let's go. This is it. This is what you practice for. This is what you play for.
This is the push.
This is it.
Yeah.
Let's go get it. Let's go get it. Gets me fired up. Let's go.
He's ready, man.
Go.
He's going to suit up again. You don't need a bye week.
I'd be on IR after routes on air.
I doubt it. He can still hold his own, man. Him and Tyler Warren out there, you'd be a nice little 1-2 punch. All right, we close out the show every week. Again, no show coming up after the bye, so we got to make this a good one here. This is our lasting segment on the podcast every week. We call it You Don't Know Jack, all right? We don't know Jack Doyle. We know him as a player. Let's get to know him better as, the human being that played so well for the Colts for 9 years. So personality-wise, we've gotten to know you a little bit better. We know you're teaching PE. You got 2 kids. You're a great dad. You like wings. All right. But this is kind of philosophical here, so just bear with me. We're getting deep on your soul, Jack Doyle. What would you do, Jack Doyle, if you knew you could not fail? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? You Don't Know Jack is sponsored by Socrates this week.
Yes, that's good, Matt. Okay, so when I hear that, Matt, I think, what would I do if I knew I wouldn't die?
There you go.
So I would, do something adventurous, it's skydiving. It's, let's go to space. Like, I would do something.
Oh, hell yeah.
I feel like I have,
Well, you got to have Jack to go to space.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got enough coin to, I don't know if you're
okay,
Elon Musk.
That was my next question. Does money count?
Money probably counts.
Money counts. All right, so that's tough. But I would do some adventurous stuff. I feel like as a dad, I have a responsibility to, not go do anything super crazy right now. I have kids to take care of.
That's fair.
But
that's too responsible of an answer.
Yeah, I know it is. But I would do something adventurous if I knew, I wasn't going to die or get hurt. Or,
I like that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to fail. I don't know what it'd be. Probably skydiving. I think that would be nuts. I think that would be fun. But I probably have to wait till my kids are older to do that.
Right. I would never go skydiving.
You're out?
Never go skydiving. I'm not afraid of, this is weird.
I am like kind of scared of heights.
I'm not afraid of heights, but I'm afraid of falling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you know you're not going to fail.
Well, that's true.
You know you're not going to fail.
I still don't think
we were at, what's it called now? Sears Tower, Willis Tower, the one in Chicago, and they have like the little glass bottom.
Yeah.
Like you could walk out there, and I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm scared of heights. Like, you think a tall person wouldn't be scared of heights, but I'm scared of heights, man. But I was like, I was shaking, and like, my brother-in-law
hold on to the rail.
Yeah, my brother-in-law was like doing a handstand in there. I'm like, you're nuts, man.
Yeah.
Like, I had no chance. But if I knew I wouldn't fail, I'd probably do it.
What about stand-up comedy? If you knew you couldn't fail, like you get up there and tell some jokes, and you just got the crowd in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, that'd be all. It's always good to make people laugh.
Hell
right?
yeah.
I don't. That'd be you, Matt.
You got a package.
No, you could kill it. You could probably do it. Have you ever done an open mic?
I have done stand-up comedy.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I have done stand-up comedy.
Stand-up
comedy, it was a charity thing.
Okay.
Well, I've done two of them. I've done a roast of someone, roast of JMV, which is like fishing in a barrel.
Yeah, that was easy.
That was awesome. But then the other one was a charity stand-up comedy show. And what I always say about comedy, I mean, not that I'm an expert by any means, but what I've noticed about it is that it's you versus the crowd. It's a weird dynamic. It's you versus the crowd, but the crowd wants you to win.
Yeah.
But you have to.
They want to laugh.
But you have to. You got to earn it.
Yeah.
Right. They're rooting for you, but you've got to do it.
That's well said. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And so there's no bigger adrenaline rush when you're up there doing stand-up comedy and the first couple of jokes start landing, and then you get into a routine. You're like, all right, this is going to work.
Yeah, that would be really hard for me. Like, I need to like have like banter, like bounce, like there's no banter in that. Like, I'm just sitting up there talking. Like, I would get lost and not know where I was in talking. But yeah, I that's funny. I assume that you would do.
It's
great.
fun. It's a good time. We got to get him up there with the stand-up comedy show from Jack Doyle. You can't fail.
Can't fail.
Right? You can't fail. There's no doubt about that. You would succeed. You put your mind to it, you're going to do it. That's a good line from Jimmy Dugan from A League of Their Own. Anything worth doing is worth doing right, and we're doing it right here on the Jack Doyle Podcast, getting you set and ready to go for Colts and Falcons in Berlin. International series coming up on Sunday. It's a 9:30 start. All right, kegs and eggs.
Let's go.
Morning football, nothing better back in the States here.
This will be awesome, man.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So a 9:30 kickoff here back in Indianapolis Eastern time, and then a week off. So again, reminder, we will not have another podcast next week during the idle week for the Colts. We'll be back the week after. I think, what is that, week 12, getting you ready to go, recapping the bye week, recapping this game against the Falcons, and also previewing a little bit Colts at Chiefs coming up after the bye. But that's going to do it here. Jack Doyle, I'm Matt Taylor. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Jack Doyle Podcast on the Colts Podcast channel. So long, everybody.